Coming up, new frames from Meta and a water bottle that can hold your iPhone.
You're listening to Double Tap, your daily accessible technology show. Now, here's your hosts, Stephen Scott and Shaun Priest.
Hey guys, welcome along to another episode of Double Tap in a brand new week. Shaun Priest, how are you, sir?
Sorry, you caught me by surprise then. I was looking around the place. I wasn't paying attention. I didn't know we were... Hello, Stephen Scott. Yes, happy Monday to you, sir.
Sorry, is anything different? That's your normal modus operandi.
Oh, sorry.
To quote, is that Latin? I think it is.
Oh, well done. You're a learned man, aren't you? What happened?
I'm a learned man. Yeah. Dear, do you know what? I will say, last week I had the cold. I might have mentioned it. I wasn't feeling great. It's like you. It's getting to the level of the mentions that I give to the cold on this program are the same amount of mentions that you give to Reaper.
Yes, I'm learning Reaper. Have I mentioned that?
No, you haven't mentioned it. Absolutely, must tell us that story.
Very exciting. There's about 5,000 different keyboard shortcuts that I forget every single time I open it up.
Yeah,
I'm getting there.
It's been interesting the past couple of weeks with the dollop. I've been...
don't know what that is.
You have no idea what that is?
I don't recognise dollops.
An amazingly wonderful exclusive podcast.
Oh, the exclusive.
You can get. Yeah. All you got to do is subscribe to the newsletter at doubletaponair.com/subscribe. That's doubletaponair.com/subscribe. Why am I doing it that way?
I don't know, but I like it.
Yeah. A very mid-Atlantic kind of approach to it. Hey.
We should say as well, thank you to
Here's a song by the Eagles.
All the people that got back and told us they enjoyed it and give us some feedback. Thank you so much.
Yeah, well, you know what? This one was a lot of fun, actually, because we kind of tore the backside out of a company called Sky for their, let's just say, inactivity when it comes to adding audio description to on-demand content. Go check out the exclusive feed on it. The great thing with the dollop, as I like to call it, is that we can really dig into a particular topic and really just lend ourselves to that particular topic for however long we want.
And vent. You know what? Because enough is enough, Stephen Scott. We've had enough. No more.
Yes, absolutely. It's been ridiculous. Just the state of accessibility and inaccessibility. And you know what annoys me? I think this is the thing that gets me is the companies that pat themselves on the back regularly for all the great things they do. I want to join you in that celebration, but I can't join you in the celebration of your accessibility achievements, no matter what they are, when you're blatantly not being fully accessible to most people out there who need your services. And it makes it worse when they've actually done all the work.
Yep.
Anyway, go check out the feed because it explains everything.
Yes, not get into it again.
No, you can check it all out. Good friend Elliot Stonehill joins us for the chat, and you can check that out on the exclusive feed, which you can get on any device you want or any app you want, but you do have to get access to that private feed, that private podcast feed, and you get access to that by subscribing to our newsletter. Nice and simple, doubletaponair.com/subscribe. Once you get that feed link, there is a link in the newsletter email which will explain to you how you can add that link to Apple Podcasts or Overcast, or some people using Downcast. Oh. You can add it to the Victor Reader, the Sense Player, anything you want. You can add it to your device, and all the instructions are on our website, doubletaponair.com/add feed.
Oh, you made it so easy, Stephen Scott. Well done,
I've
you.
tried my best. What I will say, a little programming note for you for the next week. In fact, next week being Monday 30th, I think I've got that right. We are going to be off for an entire week.
What?
We're taking a week off. We're going on holiday.
Who said?
Me.
Oh, that's okay. As long as it's not Mr. F. God bless you, Mr. F. Okay.
No.
Just a week.
We're fine. We're absolutely fine. We thought we'll take a little week off. We've been working hard this year. We haven't had any time off really at all.
No.
So I thought let's have a week off where we recharge for a week.
Can I have 2 weeks?
No, you can't have 2 weeks.
Oh,
you can have 1 week.
Sorry, sir. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, I mean, look, you would have been off earlier had it been, if you got involved in it and didn't end up with me getting involved in some domestic at home because you couldn't get the dates right.
Oh, you're going to bring that up, are you, Stephen Scott? Okay.
I'm only bringing it up because I was dragged into it by your family.
Well, I'm
sorry. Who were all unhappy with me, but it's got nothing to do with me because I asked you and you didn't give me the right dates. And so I get in trouble with your partner. How does that work?
Well, because you didn't let me have the week of my anniversary off, because you're a terrible, terrible human being. And it's simple as that. That's the story, and
what's
I'm
the real
sticking
reason
with
for
it.
that, Shaun, please?
Because I don't know calendar and dates yet, and I didn't know when things happened. So,
And I think the exact phrase you used was, any week will do, I don't care. And in the end, I had to make a decision. So I made a decision on behalf of us.
Yeah, the wrong one. Well done. Thank you,
Apparently,
Stephen
yes.
Scott. Yeah.
Well, I am a man. I'm used to it.
Let's leave that there. Where are we going on our holidays, by the way?
Well, I don't know where you're going, but I'll tell you where we're going after our holidays. Once our holidays are over, we're going to be back and we're going to be on the road.
On the road again. Where are we going?
We're going to Sight Village.
Yes, we are.
In Birmingham. Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful Birmingham. If you're not there, you're square. See you at Birmingham, etc.
Yeah, we're going to be there. We're going to be spending the Monday of the Sight Village event. So the very first day of the event, we're going to be there all day. And we're going to have a little booth. You can come up and say hello. Come up and join in the conversations. We're going to be having lots of chats with people through the course of the day for the show. We'll be broadcasting from there. A little bit confusing, but go with it on this because basically we'll be traveling down on the Monday. We'll be spending the day there. But the Tuesday show will actually be coming to you from Sight Village because that's what we're recording at Sight Village, but we'll explain more about that near the time.
Good. I need it. I'm confused.
Yeah, listen, just go with it, all right?
Thank
You know
you.
the score. Just go with it. Trust me, it'll be fine.
Right. You said that about my holiday and my anniversary, and that didn't work out. Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
It's going to be fun.
Come and
actually.
say hello.
Yeah, it could be. I loved going to Sight Village London last year. That was a great experience.
It was so busy there.
Oh, it was hugely, massively busy. It was bigly busy.
Bigly busy. Where's our booth? Do we know yet?
It's probably near the toilets because it usually is near the bathroom.
That's at my request. A man of a certain age.
I remember we did that. We were at Sight Village one year. We were parked next to the restroom.
Yes.
Then we went to Vienna, parked right next to the restroom.
I know.
I think that was more for you and Mr. F, to be perfectly honest. I'm okay in that way. I think you guys think I'm a robot because I never need to go to the
I know,
bathroom.
you're like a camel. You're weird.
I am.
Anyway, yes, we will be
We'll
at
not get
Sight
into
Village.
that. But
Thank
yeah,
you.
let's just say I can manage.
Gross.
Yeah, I'm not going to go any further than that.
Please don't.
So,
any news over the weekend, Stephen Scott?
well, a couple of stories to mention, I think. We must mention Meta. So we did talk about this on Friday. By the time we'd recorded on Friday, the news hadn't come out. Just after we finished, just as we were putting the show out, the news arrived, of course, that Meta and Oakley are now partnering up to create new glasses. So where we talk about Meta Ray-Ban, and that's kind of become a phrase we've become used to saying, Meta Ray-Ban, referring to the Ray-Ban glasses with the Meta technology in them. Well, now you can talk about Oakley glasses with Meta tech in them because Meta Oakley frames are coming to pass. Now, we don't have much detail at the moment. I kind of thought they would be announcing it and it would just be like, that'd be it, launched.
Yeah.
And there's the range and off you go. But it seems to be more of a staggered launch. They are going to be launching across the US, Canada, the UK, and some other countries. So good news, it's not going to be just limited to the US, thank goodness. I think there might be a few people out there who'll be listening thinking, oh, no, please don't tell me I've just bought a pair of Meta Ray-Ban frames and now they've brought out these new Oakley frames and this is something totally different and better and oh, goodness me. Look, I would say this. I think personally, and you tell me your thoughts, but I think that, there are some improvements here. The Oakley frames claim to have better battery life. There is claimed to be a better camera. Now, we know that would be true because the camera in the Meta Ray-Ban frames is a 1080p, or at least has a 1080p resolution when you watch it back. And it's a kind of like a square video you get. I think it's designed for like Instagram and Facebook and those kind of...
Of course it is, yeah.
Essentially like a rectangular screen, like a portrait mode visual. Whereas the newer one, I don't know about how it's going to look in terms of if it can do landscape yet or whether it's just going to be portrait mode video, but it'll be 3K. Not 4K, but 3K video. So higher resolution videos. Now, will that make a difference to the stuff we're using it for? Time will tell. But improved battery life is certainly going to make a difference. But I wouldn't worry if you've gone out and bought a pair of Meta Ray-Bans. It's not like they're redundant.
No, not at all. I mean, the question is now, if you haven't got either, which one would you buy? And because of the battery life and better camera specs, on paper at least, there is more of a decision to be made. I mean, it seems easy. Well, I want better battery life and I want a better camera. Of course, I'll go with the Oakleys. But right now, until we get our hands on them, we don't know. But there's nothing wrong, like you said, because I've seen a lot of worry and a lot of posts on social media of people saying, I've just bought these. I cannot believe it. Feeling like they've missed out. And quite honestly, don't. there's going to be more options out there. There's talk of Prada, which are going to be more fashion-based, but still having that Meta technology built in. So you're going to see lots of other different options coming up. The Oakleys are aimed at active wear, I believe they're called, for the more active, sportsman-like people out there. So think
like
of
us.
Yeah, like us, exactly. When we're snowboarding down to KFC, we'll be able to take some nice 3K video. But that's not to say necessarily they're any better than the Ray-Bans, from the use case that we want. So I won't worry about it too much. The price, I think, is pretty much the same, though, around £300 in the UK.
Oh, have you seen pricing? I haven't seen pricing.
Well,
yet.
I've seen different pricing. I've seen some that say it's like $50 more, and some say that it's a few dollars less. So until we get to the pre-order stage, I don't know. But yeah, I wouldn't worry about it too much is what I'm saying. If you got the Ray-Bans, you're still going to be fine. It's not like they're going to be discontinued because now you've got to buy the Oakleys. It's all fine.
Yeah. And actually, a friend of mine said to me at the weekend, you know what? Just imagine how good the new Ray-Bans are going to be. So if we're
always
on this
leapfrogging.
path, exactly, we're on this path towards Meta Connect, the next big event in September, and I think that's when we'll see some new technology coming out inside the Ray-Ban glasses. But all of that will then filter on through to the Oakleys and then to Prada and then whoever else. It's important to say all these companies that we're talking about, so Oakley, Ray-Ban, Prada, they're all under the Essilor, I can't say this name now.
I can't anyway.
Essilor Luxottica name. That's the brand that owns all these. So really, it's just expanding the range. And this is all about selling more glasses. That's all Meta are out to do here. They want to sell more.
Well, not just that.
Why? Why not extend the range? I mean, look, we saw this. The best example I can think of here is Android smartwatches, where you could get a Fossil one, or you could get a, I don't know, whatever model of, was it Tag Heuer? That was the one I always remember.
Posh.
I tried one of those ones. Tag Heuer.
Yes.
Very posh. Can't even say it. It was very posh. So posh I can't even say it. And so expensive I wasn't going to buy it.
Yeah. I think, look, Meta just want as many people using their services as possible. And whether that's through smart glasses or your smartphone or the app on your computer, they don't care. So there's every chance we're going to see these in prescription frames, when you're at your opticians in the future.
Absolutely, yeah.
The fact that your prescription glasses now have a camera on them is nothing. So we're just going to see more and more options when it comes to the Meta glasses.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the Meta Connect this year, only because I'm keen to see what new technology, comes out. I think we're all looking for better battery life. That's going to be the big one. And I think, it sounds like an obvious answer to a question when someone says it, but I think it's good that he came out and said this. I saw Mike Buckley was on LinkedIn talking about this, and he said, good news, and it's important to make people aware that Be My Eyes will work on the Meta Oakley glasses as well, and indeed they will on any, because ultimately it's the same software,
of course it is,
on these glasses. So please, and look, I know that again might seem like, well, obviously, but it's not obvious if people are asking the question, right? So never assume anything. I'm a great believer in that. So it's good that Mike came out and said that, because I think there may have been some people thinking, hang on a minute, what about Be My Eyes? And actually it might be the case, we don't know yet, but it might be the case that with the better camera and the better battery life, you might get more time with a Be My Eyes volunteer. But it's all a bit, it depends on a lot of different factors.
It does. Look, the cameras are strange, right? The camera on the Ray-Bans is great, 12 megapixel, right? It's really good. It's not great for small text, though. And that's not just because of the resolution. You can't just go off the camera resolution and say that's going to be great. It's also about the aspect ratio, which is designed for streaming and social media in the case of the Ray-Bans. And also the lens itself, the field of view, which can distort smaller text in certain angles. So it's really difficult to say if it'll make a difference to, read my letter. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, and saying that, like I was saying to you the other day, I was asking it to, tell me who the parcel belonged to, and it told me. Yeah. And I was quite impressed by that,
Yeah.
So no, that's really cool. I mean, I'm excited by what's coming down the line. And of course, there's also talk, when did I see this? I think, is it August or, I forget now. I think it's August. I'm not going to put a date on this because I probably got it entirely wrong.
Well done.
I just remember reading a headline about the new, and I don't think these are massively of interest to us yet, but the new Samsung XR headset that's going to be coming out. I think there's talk of it coming out definitely this year at some point. It's at the end of a month. I think it's August, but we'll see. But there's talk of that coming out. Now, I'll be honest, the headset doesn't appeal to me as much. The an what do you call it?
What?
What's wrong with me today?
I don't know. What's the matter with you?
The headset, Apple Vision Pro.
Yes.
The Apple Vision Lite, you might call it.
Yeah.
That's the one I'm looking
The Vision
forward
Pro
to.
Airs
Weirdly.
is what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's what I'd be interested in. But no, I think in terms of Samsung, I'm keen to see if they bring out glasses, which they no doubt will. There's talk of Google coming out with their glasses as well.
Well, I believe Google did say that Samsung would be the first out with the Google, the new XR platform, right?
It's all tied together at Google and Samsung, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's pretty much the same as the Metas, right? Google have got this platform for smart glasses stroke, mixed reality headset, and they're just going to let any manufacturer put that in their glasses. So it's pretty much the same sort of thing. It is.
Choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
An expensive year, I'll tell you that. Okay, let's move on to something else, because there's a company called Blastbay, which I've never heard of. They've started selling this week or last week. They started selling new SAPI 5 voices. Now, explain this to me like I'm a 5-year-old, Shaun, please. You are my chat GPT today. What is SAPI 5? Is that a new version of text-to-speech voice capability, or has this been around for a while?
Oh, it's been around for a while. SAPI 4 is still around as well, and you'll find it in, for example, NVDA. You can choose SAPI 4, SAPI 5, or the new ones from Microsoft are 1 core. That's what they call their TTS voices. SAPI 5 is the latest of the last generation, I would say, but still very popular. It gives you that high quality. But yes, it's not the very cutting edge, but SAPI 5 is still very popular. But more importantly, it's more universally adopted, as in currently the Blastbay voices that we're talking about today are available for Windows, and they'll work across the system on virtually everything.
Yeah, that's right. Now, these are specifically for Windows at the moment, although there's talk of them being available on Android down the line, and I'm not sure about Mac. I don't think that's possible. I don't think you can add voices to the Mac at this point. You get what you get with it. Yeah, I don't think so. Unless someone's figured a way around to do it, I don't think you can add your own voices. You get pretty much what you get from Apple. That's why when we were all excited when Eloquence came onto the Mac, because I don't think anyone was expecting that.
Okay.
So, but that was an Apple decision to put that in. So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, when it comes to Windows, you've got a bit more choice. So JAWS, Narrator, NVDA, you can certainly add these voices. Now, there are 2 new voices. I'm going to play you some clips of them so you can see what you think. Right, so here we go. Shaun, are you ready for this? This is Libby.
Hello everyone, my name is Libby, and I am an American female voice from Blastbay Studios. You can control my speaking rate, as well as my pitch, without reducing the sound quality. I respond quickly, and I work with any application that uses SAPI 5. Thank you for listening to me.
Okay, so that's Libby. First thoughts?
Yeah. Okay. Well, sorry.
No. Oh, okay, hang on. Whoa, hang on.
All right.
Hang on.
Next.
What's the voice that you use every day? What's your favorite voice?
1 core Hazel or Susan, which are exactly the same, by the way. 1 core Hazel, I believe, which isn't great either.
Do we just get tired of them?
No. I tell you what it is, because now, and this makes great use of the word AI, or I should say the letters AI, in the blurb about this voice, right? That it runs locally, local sourced AI. It's not sending any of your text off to a cloud server to be processed to get the voice and then come back. It's all done locally. I'm kind of confused by what the AI aspect here is, because if I'm talking about AI voice, I immediately think of something like 11 Labs, where it's got that emotion. It's got incredibly human, natural sounding voices. Sorry, to me, that just sounds like a TTS from SAPI 5 decade. It sounds nice, but...
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, when they're buying these voices, and look, this is a choice, right? I mean, you can choose to have these or not. This is just a new product that's out. But I think a lot of people look for voices they can speed up, that have got that human-like quality.
Yes.
The challenge is often when you try some of these voices out, especially the narrator voices are very good.
They're beautiful.
But at high speed...
Yeah.
No, I'm not as keen.
Yeah, but isn't that the case with any human-sounding voice at high speed? I mean, you and I both edit at high speed, Stephen Scott.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird. It clips, right? It's just how the human voice works, isn't it? Because, once you get to a more robotic-sounding voice like Eloquence, which is robotic, I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
You can do it at high speed because it doesn't sound that different.
Yeah, it connects better.
That's right. I think it's more of a mind game than actual perceptual Anyway, yeah, it's really difficult to judge.
And it's very individual.
On a 30-second clip that we just played. I have downloaded it and I will install it.
It's hard to know how it's going to sound when speeded up either. So it'll be interesting to hear how that goes. Okay, so that was Libby. Let's hear Richard. This is the other voice.
Hello everyone. My name is Richard, and I am an American male voice from Blastbay Studios. You can control my speaking rate, as well as my pitch, without reducing the sound quality. I respond quickly, and I work with any application that uses SAPI 5. Thank you for listening to me.
I mean, I like these voices. I think they're nice and clear. I mean, whether you love them or not is entirely up to you. And it's, I mean, you know what I'm like. I'm like with voices. I'm like with keyboards. You know, every 5 minutes I'm changing my mind and want something else. You know, Oliver is the one I've kind of settled on right now, which is very close to Richard actually. But I like those voices. I mean, so in terms of price, you buy them outright. There's no subscriptions attached to this. You pay outright for this. There's a Windows setup package that you download. You can go and download it now. You can try it on your computer. There's a limited trial, and what happens is the quality actually reduces down to almost like telephone-like quality after a while, and then you get this hiss in the background, and then you can close the application. You can open it back up, see NVDA or whatever, and then it'll start again and reset the clock, and you get another couple of minutes. You can listen to it, and then once you've decided, you know, you like it or not, you can choose to buy it. And each one is $19.95 US.
I like that price.
Yeah, it's a good price for them. I mean, I'll be honest, I would probably have those voices. I think they're really nice. They're full bodied. They're clear. I can't wait to hear what they sound like sped up.
That's the key. As
nice
Richard
voices.
just told us there, you know, changing the pitch and the rate. Yeah, that's the key. Maybe that's the killer selling point that, you know, for those of us that want to put the speech rate up a little bit, maybe these, because they do sound amazingly clear. There's no getting away from that. They sound very nice there.
And the thing that
just
we
robotic,
forget,
that's all.
Yeah, I know. But something I don't know. I mean, personally, I prefer that. I like a little bit of robotic in my TTS because I just find it.
What?
I don't know. It allows me to speed it up and slow it down as I want.
Yes, I totally understand that. But
I'll do that through the course of a day. I'll change the volume, not the volume, the rate of speech during the course of a day, quite a lot actually.
But you just said yourself, narrators, those new narrator voices that Microsoft, what do they even call them? I can't remember, natural voices.
Yeah.
Sound amazing, right? I love listening to an article with those on, or even sometimes just going through my longer emails with those on. They sounds really nice. But I agree with you. When you're just, you know, doing some productivity and you know the keyboard shortcuts you're listening out for and the navigation landmarks that you're listening out for, it's just tap, 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 tap. You want it as quick as possible. So I do
because if you have a voice that speaks at the speed of, say, the natural voice at the default rate, or even any of these voices, frankly, at default rate, when you're doing that tab, 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 you're hearing nothing.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
It's not catching up to be able to speak. Now, with eloquence, of course, you know, probably maximum I've had it is about 75%. I haven't ever gone
That's
more
my
than
usual one, 70, 75.
Yeah, and I find that's pretty fast even for me. I do sometimes have to go between 50 and 75, depending on what I'm doing. But emails, I want to just run right through them. I just want to get through them. I want to get, you know, into the information, delete. In my case, that's usually what I'm doing with emails. Delete a lot.
Feedback at doubletaponair.com.
No, not those ones, obviously. Just all the other ones. But yeah, you know, I kind of want to just have a way of just quickly getting through. And I think I know that there's a lot of things you can do in JAWS with voice profiles. I haven't really dug into that yet, but I think I could do a lot
powerful.
more.
Yeah.
Well, that's right, because I mean, like you're saying, you know, if you have an article you want to read, you almost just want to hit a key, some kind of shortcut key, and I'm sure it's possible. But you just want to hit a shortcut key to turn the voice to that voice for that piece of content. The Mac, for example, you can choose. And again, maybe you can do all this in NVDA and JAWS, I don't know. But I know on the Mac, for example, you can choose for certain levels of, you can really drill into what voice goes where.
Is that
so if you're
activities?
reading content, no, well, you can do it in activities, so that's per app. You can do it that way. So I use it, for example, for my Farrago app. I have a very specific voice that I use for Farrago. Now, I'm mentioning this because someone had been in touch. Forgive me, I forget your name, but you had got in touch with me, and we'll hear the email, I'm sure, come through. And you were asking how I play the little jingles and how I do all the stuff when I'm playing stuff in on the show. And it's because I use this Mac app called Farrago, which is an amazingly simple soundboard app for the Mac, but it's very accessible. It's from the company Rogue Amoeba. and they've done an amazing job making this accessible. A couple of things they could do that would improve it, which we're still working on, like, telling me how long a file has left to play. That's useful when you're sitting listening to an email and thinking, I've only got 5 minutes left. Am I going to be able to fit this in? So it's things like that, that aren't quite right yet, but we're getting there with it. It's certainly very accessible. And the point is that I can play that. I can, find items. I can attach them to specific keys on the keyboard. So, for example, in a minute when we do the emails, I'll hit the letter E on my keyboard and that'll play the email jingle. It's as simple as that.
Easy.
And that's how I use it. And there was a reason for telling you that, and I forgot what it is now. But there you go.
Yeah, no, I've totally forgotten as well. So,
do you know? I'll tell you how tired I was last week. Right?
Oh, okay.
I was so tired last week that my phone rang.
This is so strange. Yes.
My phone rang, and I tried to answer a call on a Kit Kat.
Oh. That's because you've always got a Kit Kat in your hand lately.
No, it was in my pocket.
Oh.
Kit Kat was in my pocket, and I pulled it out and tried to double tap on it and wondered why I wasn't getting any call.
4-finger Kit Kat.
Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, it is like a phone in your pocket.
Anyway, go to blastbay.com if you want if you want to check out these new voices and let us know what you think. You can, as Stephen just said, you can try them out. So give them a try and let us know what you think.
Right, let's take a short break. I'm going to grab a quick swig of coffee.
And
I think I need it. Maybe a little Kit Kat.
No time.
Kit Kat as well. Yeah, no, we'll get a Kit Kat in the break. And we'll be right back with your emails.
This is Double Tap. We'll be right back.
Hey, Shaun, we've got a newsletter.
Letter with news from Double Tap?
Yes, a letter of news, which I think you need to read, my friend, to keep up to date with what is going on.
I know, I do need to find out what's going on, and this is a great way to do it.
Well, it is, because in the newsletter, you're going to get access to all of our stories, all of our coverage of all the big tech news stories, but also all of the conversations, the interviews we've been having, and even looking back at some great archival content as well, because we've been doing this for a little while.
A long time, yes, and even some exclusive content just for the newsletter subscribers.
That's right, and if you're a keen listener to Double Tap on podcast and YouTube, you might even find some exclusive codes in there as well for your shopping delights. It's not just going to be Stephen that's buying things around here, Check out our newsletter. You can subscribe to it right now by going to doubletaponair.com/subscribe.
That's doubletaponair.com/subscribe.
Get in touch with Double Tap. Email feedback@doubletaponair.com. Leave us a voicemail at 1-877-803-4567. And now you can send an audio or video message to us on WhatsApp. That number is 1-613-481-0144.
I remember what we were talking about. Not that you remembered and then reminded me during the break. That didn't happen.
No, of course not. No.
Didn't happen like that at all.
Please. Carry on.
I was talking about changing the voice for different contexts in Mac. So you can do that. So we were talking about the different voices. And you can actually say, like, for certain types of content, use this voice, use that voice. And like you were asking about activities, you can do it per app, but you can also do it across the board as like a default setting.
Yeah.
It's okay. I mean, look, it's okay. It's past experience of VoiceOver has been, if you really want to screw VoiceOver up, play with those settings, because then it just gets totally confused. I mean, it got to the point where it didn't know what voice I wanted it to use when I changed the app for Agile. It didn't know what I was trying to do. It was just every day was a different voice, which actually was kind of nice. It was like the computer decided for me that day.
Well, on the new operating systems of 26, you'll be able to restore your VoiceOver settings on the iPhone and import and export on the Mac Tahoe, I believe it's called.
That's right.
Yes.
Tahoe.
I don't know what it's called.
It's like when I tried to say tag her.
Yeah.
Right, shall we get some emails?
Please, I think we should.
So what was I to do? Press the letter E, wasn't I? Was it E? Oh, there we go. It worked.
Oh.
Email. We get email. We get your email every day.
Ding dong.
Here's your mail today.
What's happening on the screen right now, Stephen Scott? I've been told to ask.
Oh. So we have a little visual that comes up with a cat playing a piano.
Yeah. Now, what's that got to do with emails I've been asked to ask?
Because at the beginning of the jingle... Hang on a minute. Hang on. Right, at the beginning of the jingle, listen to this. At the beginning... Hear that?
Email.
Yes, someone playing the xylophone. Yes.
That's not a xylophone. That's a piano.
That is not a piano. That's a xylophone.
A piano. That's a piano.
Feedback at doubletaponair.com. Should there be a dog playing the xylophone instead of a cat playing the piano? These are the questions the audience wants answered.
Hang on. That is definitely a piano.
That is a xylophone or a glockenspiel.
I think there's a xylophone in there,
Right,
but it's also a piano.
Again.
Right, okay. All right, you've asked for it. Here we go.
Xylophone and a drum. Anyway, emails.
Anyway, that's all we get time for this week. I need to stop whacking this microphone.
We are getting so relaxed in this show.
This is
we need to get more professional.
We are out of here.
We're having too much fun.
Mr. F stands for we are finished. Right, let's get some emails on, and we're going to kick off with Yusuf.
Hello, Stephen, Laura, and Shaun, and fellow Double Tappers. This is Yusuf. I wanted to comment on Braille. I thought your Braille at 200 was absolutely brilliant. You had a lot of really interesting interviewees and participants, and it has promoted a lot of debate, which I have enjoyed. I wanted to talk about Braille and literacy. I'm coming at this from the perspective of somebody who's been blind almost all my life. I can't remember being able to see. I have very vague memories of wandering around in a unit for partially sighted children when I was about 4 and feeling extremely lost because I wasn't able to find any friends to hang out with, which makes me sound very lonely. And actually, I think I was probably very lonely, and I did feel very lonely. Although whether that's, something that I've kind of created in my head or whether it's a real memory, I'm not sure. So I learned Braille at Dorton House from the age of roughly between 7 and 10. And I'd say I was kind of fluent in it from about 10, 11 onwards. Fluent to the point where I could go to our library and just pick up a book and start reading in grade 2. So I started with grade 1 and then went on to grade 2, principally because, as you kind of said in a recent episode, Stephen, grade 2 takes up less space and is faster. In fact, when I tried to read grade 1, when I try to read grade 1 at the moment, I find it's too slow for me. I find my brain is going too fast and my fingers can't keep up with what my brain is expecting to get. So it kind of slows down. Getting to the point of literacy, which is where I wanted to get to. For me, literacy is the inability to read and write, to have that direct relationship with the written word. And if a blind child, like a sighted child, comes out of school not being able to read Braille, or in the sighted child's case, print, and there are children in this country and probably in the US and Canada as well, who come out of school who can't read print, they are illiterate. And that's not a failing on the child's part, it's a failing on the part of the system that has failed to teach them properly, to enable them to have that direct access. I don't think somebody who goes blind in later life and can't read Braille is illiterate. And here's why. Will you play a little thought experiment with me? So you, Shaun, Stephen, all of you guys who are listening who've lost your sight in later life, if I say a word to you, what happens in your head? That should be heads, really. So here's the word. Great. Now in my head, I can now see the Braille letters standing up. I can see dots 1, 2, 4, 5 for G, dots 1, 2, 3, 5 for R, and dots 2, 3, 4, 5 for T. And they're standing in like a sort of a void in my head. They're kind of standing upright. If I wanted to, I could run my fingers across them. And that, of course, is the contraction for great. If I wanted to, I could get that word to appear in its uncontracted form. I wonder whether the two of you and all of our listeners who could read and write print are seeing the letters standing up in their heads, in your heads, the printed letters. And that to me, if you are, that to me suggests that you still have that relationship with the printed word. By my definition, you are still literate. even though you can't read print in the way that you used to. Is that just a cop-out, or is that a reasonable way of thinking of it? I think it's one of the unfortunate consequences of school integration that has meant that blind children have not learnt Braille. And I think it's a crying shame. I think all blind children should learn Braille. All children with a visual impairment should be encouraged to learn Braille, but I can quite understand why many are resistant to it, because they want to hang on to their ability to use sight as long as possible. Apologies for the very, very lengthy message. I'm going to stop there. Keep up the great work, and sorry for being so far behind. Maybe I should finish this off by saying, Happy Halloween. 2026, that is. Cheers.
Yeah, that might have been a bad idea.
Never apologise.
We made it. We got your message on air. You got listening. We all made it together before Halloween. I think that's an achievement.
Well done us, and well done you. There's a lot to cover there, really. Okay, it always comes down to the literacy argument when it comes to Braille for a lot of people, right? So I suppose the argument there was that if you don't know Braille, you're not literate. If a child leaves school or education and is unable to read Braille.
I think by definition that's true, isn't it? I mean, if a
well,
child can't read or write.
It does depend though, right? It depends because the argument is, and again, we've seen both sides of this argument to extremes, but if someone can interact with information, be that through Braille or be that through print or be that through digital interface, whichever that may be, as long as they can comprehend that information and interact with it, i.e. read and write information, does it matter what form that takes? If someone can hear through a screen reader or large print even, their computer, their smartphone, they're literate, aren't they? Literate.
I don't know. I think when you're talking about kids, I mean, how do you teach a child what the letters are, what the letters mean, how the letters associate? How do you teach English essentially as one language?
Well, if you're blind from birth or you're blind as a child, then Braille is the way to do that. But I'm saying,
well, that's exactly the point.
Yeah, but if you
need the relationship with the language in order to be able to go on and type. And I mean, we all know the examples of people who have essentially not had great learning with Braille or great experience with Braille, and then they go on and if you look at their writing, if you look at their even their keyboard entries or whatever, they're terrible. It's poor, punctuation's not there, you don't have full understanding of letters and words. There is spelled the wrong way, for example, umpteen different ways that it can be spelled, but it's the wrong context for that spelling.
That's very true. Yeah,
these are the issues of someone not essentially leaving school without, and I'm with Yusuf 100% on this. That is down to the school to, they've essentially failed that child. I think the argument tends
here. That's the trouble. We all are.
The argument though tends to come about for people who are, losing sight later in life, and if they don't have Braille, then they are illiterate. And I don't agree with that, because I think, like me, like you, I don't know your experience, but certainly, your thought experiment there, Yusuf, when you said, if you see or hear the word great, do you see it standing in front of you? I do. I absolutely do.
Do you? What, the letters?
Yeah. I can see the word kind of pop up and I can see the letters and I can see that in my mind. The interesting thing is, though, over time, letters have started to fade out of certain words. I'll give you an example. Receipt. The word receipt, I'm like, hang on, right, so is it I before E except after C?
Which isn't true anymore, apparently.
Where does the P sit in this? And I can't even see the word. It's now become jumbled. So that word, those letters are either faded or jumbled up. And the problem is I have no recollection of how I'm meant to spell that word.
But when
I fear I lose that, by over time, by losing vision, I'm losing that sense of being able to spell a little bit. Well, I mean, look, of course it's corrected by technology.
Yeah, but when you type it, and if it isn't auto-corrected, I don't actually like autocorrect a lot of the time, you will hear it, that doesn't sound right. So you go back and check, and then you try it the different way, E before I or I before E, whichever way it's meant to be. And then you say, that sounds right. My screen reader is now saying that word correctly. So, well, doesn't that reinforce the spelling?
It can do. Yeah, I think it can.
Or every time you type it, if you have autocorrect on, you get that sound to say you've spelt it wrong, and it may autocorrect it. But
there are times I've spelled words out, and I'm absolutely spelling this word correctly in my mind. This in my mind is the right way to spell this word.
Yeah.
And it keeps telling me I'm wrong. And then I've sent that word or that spelling, or I've asked Lady A, what is the spelling to this word? And I go, oh, right. Okay.
The thing we keep coming back to, though, is the importance. So no matter which side of the argument you fall down on, I think the importance of children learning at school at an early age, Braille, is incredibly important. There's no getting away, wherever you agree or disagree on the literacy aspect. I mean, because that is the time to learn it. It just is. And why wouldn't you put that resource in the hands of a visually impaired child, no matter what their degree of vision?
You know me, I've argued this point many times.
Yeah. No, I agree. I do agree.
Yusuf, thank you for your email. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's a subject we will definitely be returning to, as we do time and time again, and we will continue to. Let's move on to Darren.
Hello, this is Darren from Bexley in Kent. I'm recording this short message to explain my experiences of using Innosearch over the phone in the UK. I have used it about 3 times to place orders, and basically the first 2 times I didn't get any text messages at all with either the order number or the shipping, etc. In fact, I had to use the Blind Shell Classic 3 basically to record the order number and the details it was giving me, so that I had some record. The products did arrive, however, there was no problem. However, the 3rd time, I got a text message with the order number, but I didn't get any shipping information as to when it was going to arrive. I have contacted Innosearch, and they couldn't have been more helpful. They admit that there are problems, and they are dealing with it and working to resolve it. I think that if they implement all the ideas I have suggested to them for future improvements, then I think it's only going to get better and better. And it's going to be a world-class product, just like Double Tap is.
Oh.
This is all for now. I'm about to send this by email. I have never sent an audio email like this before, so hopefully this will come out. This is Darren saying bye for now, and thank you. Bye.
There you go, Darren. A couple of firsts for you there.
Amazing quality audio, by the way. Sounded completely different. That was
I know,
fantastic.
right? You get so used to hearing people on a phone.
Yeah.
You just get so used to their voice. I know. Brilliant. Thanks, Darren.
So, Innosearch by phone using AI, of course. Have you used that? I can't remember.
I have. Yeah, I have. I mean, so I tried it on. I was like thinking, what could I buy that I don't really need, but I could buy?
Everything you buy, you don't really need, Stephen Scott.
That's true. That's right. Absolutely. New laptop, MacBook, another MacBook. But no, so I thought I'll try it on, I don't know, sponges. I love buying a sponge. I love a good sponge.
You do? Yeah.
I do.
You had me running around King's Cross at midnight looking for a sponge. Anyway, sorry, that's another story.
Maybe that's a story for the dollar. Yeah, so, I tried it. I got in touch, and I wasn't sure what to expect, because you know that way you're immediately thinking this is not going to work. In my mind, anyway. I'm just like, this is not going to work. It's not going to understand me, or it's going to get mixed up, or it's going to give me 8 billion results.
I don't want to interrupt.
But you are.
But I'm going to anyway. Anytime I've tried to use the smart speaker from a certain online store to do shopping, it's an absolutely awful, terrible, never gets it right experience. So I've got not much trust in this, to be honest. So please, carry
honestly, you would be surprised. So I went in, and obviously it doesn't have your order history. It's not connected to your Amazon account, so it can't go back and try and identify previous orders, which would be really useful. And maybe that's something they'll implement in future. But what I found really interesting was I was able to, articulate what it was I was wanting. you're having a conversation with it. It's not a case of it's asking you all the time, or it will query, it will come back and say, okay, so specifically, is this for like washing a car or for washing yourself in the bathroom? That kind of thing. It's like, okay, I want it to be washing myself, so that rules out a number of the type of sponges I might be looking for. It's not a sponge cake.
Yeah.
It's like you have to kind of almost direct its way of travel a little bit. And, the great thing is when it starts giving you ideas and saying, okay, I found some suggestions for you, here's option number 1, and it starts going through them, you can kind of immediately go, no, not that one, try the next one. And it'll jump to option 2, and no, that's not it. No, you've got this all wrong. Here's what I'm looking for. Give me this.
Yeah.
Usually comes in a pack of 12 or whatever it is. And, very quickly, actually, it was able to find exactly what I was looking for. Now, I didn't complete the purchase because I didn't need it, but I thought, the process seemed pretty good. There was a bit that I really liked, which was when it came to entering your address. I'm thinking, how's this going to work? I'm able to put my address into this thing just verbally, and it's going to understand all this. And then when it comes to credit card and all that, how's that going to work? But it's quite interesting. So I didn't get as far as the credit card bit, but what I did go as far to do was to put in my address. And when I put it in, it did get the address right the first time, but it did say, if you want, you can text the number. Now, what was it again? I think you text the number that you call. You hang up the call, right? So you hang up the call with Innosearch. You text that number with your address, and then you call back, and it will actually continue the transaction.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's cool.
That's really cool, actually, because it kind of just takes the pressure off a little bit. There's always that feeling of, I'm not going to do this in the amount of time it needs to be done in.
Yeah.
I don't know how it went with the credit card, because that's the only bit I was thinking, so hang on, I'd have to put my credit card in here. How's that going to work? And it didn't. I don't think it had the same kind of option to sort of text that information, probably for good reason. But I don't know. I kind of would like it to get to a stage where it could remember your card information, and it could say, do you want to use this saved card? And you just say yes, and it moves on. That would be a good place for it to get to, but it doesn't seem to be there yet.
They got to be able to verify it's you, right, over the phone somehow.
Well, usually it's the 3-digit card number, isn't it, on the back of the card?
Yeah,
That's
maybe that's all you need. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I was very impressed. I was very impressed by it. It's not something I would use necessarily every time, because I think I would probably just use the web interface. I love the web interface for it. It's very simple, very clean. I like all the different offers and options. And you can usually find exactly what you're looking for within a very short space of time. If it's a phone case, or if it's and again, being able to ask the AI, you could do the same thing on the phone. You could say, okay, tell me, do these come in various colors? Or, tell me more information about the sponge. Does it have a hard back? Is it a heavy sponge? Is it
a hardback heavy sponge? Do they exist?
Rocks, basically. I was buying a rock that I would use to wash myself with, like some bear in the desert. Hang on, bears don't live in the desert.
Right, anyway, stop it. Yes.
Yes, but you get the point.
Look, so, it works, apparently. It works. That's what we're getting. And yes, there's some issues, as Darren pointed out there.
I did manage to buy a rock for my pet bear.
Good. Innosearch, I don't know what you're talking about. Innosearch themselves, as developers,
I need more coffee,
are very receptive to any feedback. So if you do find any problems, do get in touch with them and let them know.
Absolutely. Those guys are amazing.
Yeah.
So good to speak to.
Again, look, okay. I don't see this as a blind service. This isn't a blind service, even though Innosearch themselves do market it.
You got to tell the story, right? So there we are on air going on about, this is not a blind service. They don't even announce it as a blind service. And then we went on to, what was it, Be My Eyes?
Be My Eyes.
And it was, what did it say?
So I don't know, something like the blind shopping experience for blind people. Blind
everywhere.
Look, they're missing a trick here.
So what? But you're right.
It's not a blind shopping. This is what the shopping experience should be across the board. It 100%. This isn't just for. Sorry, I just get.
No, you're right.
Anyway,
because I think a lot of people would much prefer using this method to any other.
Well, how
many times have you had someone buying something? It doesn't matter if you can see or not. You only are presented with a number of images. Yeah. So, it may not give you all the information you need, and you might think, what does that look like? And, what kind of color is that really? And, there's a whole bunch of people who might value just being able to ask the AI more questions about, I'm buying a pair of curtains. What kind of, do I need a certain size of
what
cutting
hooks do I need, or whatever?
Exactly.
Yes.
Is the eyelets?
Is this a global
information
thing
that you need?
Does this happen here in the UK? We had catalogue shops such as Argos and Index, for example, and you go in, flick through a catalogue and write the number down on a slip with a little tiny pen and then go to the back and then pull it out and
Steal the pen.
horrible. We couldn't use it, it was awful, but it was so popular. But I'm just saying, people want access to an easy way to interact to get the goods that they want, not necessarily, walking around a shop every time. I just think it would be, for the mainstream, people would eat this stuff up.
Well, you've said it, Shaun. I think people are pleased.
Thank you.
We'll now move on.
Sorry. Can I say
thank
it
you,
again?
Darren.
Thank you, Darren.
Please do. Let's move on to Rich.
Hey, Double Tappers. This is Rich Yamamoto providing my first ever contribution to the show, I suppose.
Hey!
First of all, I remember Shaun from Cool Blind Tech from like 10 years ago-ish.
20.
Now, I think, since it's running. I was listening to it when I was a little kid and got a lot of great info out of it.
Oh, God.
Wow.
I wanted to respond to the person who was asking for alternatives for hands-free video calling because the Portal TV thing is now gone or debunked or whatever. I don't think I used the right word for that, but that's okay. You can use FaceTime if you have a Apple device and the other person doesn't. You would just copy the FaceTime link and send it to the respective parties, and you click the link and it opens in a browser window and you can join the call that way. And then you can do all the FaceTime things that you would do with the WhatsApp video call. Alternatively, you could use WhatsApp and the Meta smart glasses if you have those readily available, and you can do it that way. What I like to do is put my phone on a tripod and use the tripod as like a hands-free way of doing it. It doesn't swivel, so I have to just kind of move around and make sure I'm still in the shot, but it works as a current solution to that particular need. And I've used that method to also record video for a school assignment, but there are definitely ways that you can get this happen. That's my solution. And I'm sure other people will have ideas for this as well, but I'm catching up on episodes.
Thanks, Rich, and welcome along to the family. Welcome to Double Tap.
I'm your granddad, apparently. Wow.
I know, listening since a child.
Since I was
Wow,
a kid.
I mean, how old do you feel today, Shaun?
Oh,
please?
incredibly old. But
Oh,
welcome
I
to
love it.
Double Tap. Thanks, Richard. That's so scary. Okay, yeah. FaceTime. The link actually works. You know what? I don't like FaceTime. Can I say that? Is that allowed on here? I do not like FaceTime.
I think we've upset Apple enough. I think we can just go.
It just doesn't seem to work that well. It seems so. Hey, maybe in iOS 26 it's going to work better. You can do that through the Apple TV now, can you?
You can, but it's a bit messy, especially with the whole phone thing where you've got to use your phone, you've got to put a phone on a stand in front of the TV. You know, I think if they could build a way of getting a webcam into the, there must be a way of doing it. You know, get a webcam plugged into the Apple TV. That'd be brilliant. That's it. I mean, that's the solution, really. It'd be a lot easier.
The thing with the Portal was, yes, it's been discontinued now, and the way they did it was a little bit but it did work really well. It was a nice, easy solution. That's the sort of thing you want when we're talking about video conferencing, especially through families. You want something that's just a one-hit device, really.
I wonder if that
I mean?
was just time. I wonder if it was a time thing, because if that had come out at the beginning of the pandemic, I think that would be everybody's home.
Yeah.
You
Did
know?
you see do you remember the Google Beam they showed off at the Google I/O event, which was
that's like the 3D
3D effect. It was like they're there right in front of you, and apparently, the hands-on demos that they were able to give at the time were absolutely amazing. It does trick you into thinking you're sat in front of someone. They've just apparently announced the first hardware to integrate that technology. $25,000.
Is that all?
It's definitely for businesses and enterprise. But yes, I believe it's
God,
from
I
Dell.
could buy a Braille display instead.
Yeah, we're not going to see
I could
that
buy 2
anytime.
Braille displays for that. That's brilliant. That's a bargain, actually.
But if anyone else has got any answers to the video conferencing question, then please get in touch and let us know.
Now, do you ever think, you're out and about, you think, oh, maybe I need to make a video call, and you think, oh, it'd be great if I could mount my camera somewhere, like you were saying there, Rich, about having a tripod or something to put your camera onto, a way to kind of get the phone up so that you can kind of hold the phone up in front of you without having to actually hold the phone. And I saw this thing the other day. I can't quite believe this exists. And when I read into it, because at first it was a story about a water bottle which Mac lovers would love. And I thought, okay, I mean, I love my accessories.
Get my credit card out, Stephen's buying it.
I was
Yes.
immediately kind of like, I'm intrigued. But I thought it was just going to be like a metal, like just a traditional kind of metal bottle, right? Kind of almost in that silver style or space grey design or whatever of the MacBook. No. It has a very special lid which has MagSafe built into it.
No
that
way.
you can flip up and you can use it to hold your phone while you're sitting on the train or on the bus if you want to watch a movie or do a FaceTime call. That way I'm like, I have genuinely no need for this at all.
But I
I'm
want one.
extremely interested in this idea.
That must have a
there's
huge
solution.
bottom.
Well, it's a fairly large bottle. I mean, it's the width. Actually, interesting. It's the width of an iPhone 16 Pro Max, and they mentioned that because they were saying if you can fit your iPhone 16 Pro Max into your car, your drinks holder in your car, then you'll be able to fit this bottle in there.
Right.
So it's giving you that kind of size.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a pretty big bottle, but
Okay.
I mean, it's an interesting idea. It's $100. I mean,
Oh,
really,
forget it. Just buy a tripod.
it's got an AirTag built into it as well, so if you lose it, you can find it again.
Well, I can see where that money's going then. Okay.
I say AirTag. Find my capability, I think, is the right way to put it.
Same thing.
It's just an AirTag built in, yeah. But an interesting idea. Anyway, it's from if you're interested, it's a company called Journey. They make desk mats. I know you don't know what these things are, but they make desk mats, very fancy ones with wireless charging capability
Tablecloth.
built in.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use that, yeah.
Okay.
God. Right, okay. I think we really do need a week off for the sounds of us two today. I tell you, we are struggling today. I don't know why. But listen, thank you for the amazing emails, as always. We'll be back tomorrow with plenty more of your emails and your comments as well, and more news as it comes in on the world of tech. That's it, though, for us today. Thank you, as always, Shaun, and we'll catch you tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye-bye.